Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. It is Tuesday, July the 15th, 2025. U.S. stock market has been open for almost exactly 30 minutes and kind of there's a mixed market this morning. You've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down a little bit to start trading today, but the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 are both up a little bit. NASDAQ actually having a pretty good day, up over 0.5%. You hear me say this a lot. I'll repeat it right now just briefly. 0.5% move in either direction is a good, I mean, that's not a bad move for the markets. If it's to the upside, that's a good day. If it's to the downside, that's kind of a bad day. I think it's almost a bad thing when we become accustomed to these moves that are 1-2% in a single day. When you consider how many trading days there are in a year, that's a big one-day move when you've got one of the index moving a full percent in either direction. So I like when a downward move is no more than 0.5% or less than 0.5%, and when a big move to the upside is not much more than 0.5%, it feels to me to be a little more steady. So kind of like where things are at this morning. The Dow is down largely on American Express and IBM and Travelers. From a percentage standpoint, those are the three companies that are bringing the Dow Jones Industrial Average down. And then on the companies that are in the plus column on the Dow, with the exception of NVIDIA, none of them are very far in the plus column. Salesforce is up 0.25%, Merck is up 0.33%, Microsoft up 0.33%. Those are relatively small percentage movements compared to what some of the losers are taking. I mean, American Express is down almost 2%, and Home Depot down almost 1%. So very, very mixed picture on the three different indexes. But the NASDAQ having a phenomenal day, and our portfolio is a little bit NASDAQ heavy, so we're doing good today in terms of our open trades. What's moving the market? I think this is a misleading headline. It says inflation picks up again in June, rising at 2.7 annual. The numbers came in on CPI this morning, and I think the CPI report was kind of mixed, because you did, in all fairness, have the year-over-year number come in just a tiny tick to the high side, but the month-over-month was in line, and the core month-over-month was actually a little bit better. So and then year over year was in line. So you've got these four components of CPI: the full month over month, the full year over year, and then the core month over month and the core year over year. And it was mixed. I would say that overall it kind of came in line, because again, the year over year just a tiny fraction tick higher, but the year over year core in line, and the month over month core a little bit better. So I don't read too much into this in the way of negative. I don't see a lot that's super positive. It would be nice if all these numbers were down a little bit, but I think they came in pretty much in line with expectation. And I don't think it's like a big miss, and I don't think it's like a big indication that inflation is moving higher. I think it's 1 month, and it's a 1 month read that is not all that bad and fairly in line. So we get PPI numbers tomorrow, and then we get some more data that comes at the end of the week in terms of retail sales and jobs, and we'll see where things are at. I don't think today's numbers did anything to move the needle one direction or the other on what the Fed should do in their next meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. I think there's a pretty even divide on this is surprising to me. I did not realize that almost 98% think that there will not be a rate cut in July. I wonder how much that number changes. I haven't looked at this yet today. You can tell changes pretty dramatically for September. So those people who think a rate cut is still coming are not looking for one in a couple of weeks. They're looking for one in a couple of months from now. We'll see whether that happens or not, and whether anything goes on that would change this expectation for where rates are at right now. I'm on the fence. There's a part of me that thinks that Powell should be cutting rates, and there's a part of me that thinks it's okay to be waiting a little bit. People that I listen to, people that I like, people whose opinions I respect are pretty split on it. So we'll see what actually happens and where things actually go with rate cuts. I spent a fair amount of time on the podcast last night talking about the new trade that we set up on Johnson & Johnson. There's not much movement on it today. Earnings doesn't happen until 2 days from now. So not a lot of movement on it right now. We'll see where it goes and see what happens. But Johnson & Johnson is only a little bit. There's a tiny bit of movement in Johnson & Johnson. I think they're down about a quarter of, down about 26 cents this morning. I don't even know what that is from a percentage standpoint, but very little movement in this morning, which should make it somewhat easy to get into the trade if you didn't get in previously. I show them down only 15 cents a share right now, so that should be a fairly easy entry for them. So not much to report on there. But listen to last night's podcast if you're wondering about it. I've got to put my actual entry prices in here. This I just have these entry prices I just have set equal to what the stock is trading at right now. So I'll fix that. But on a better note, even than Johnson & Johnson, Coreweave having a phenomenal move to the upside this morning. They made an announcement about an acquisition of an AI company, not a company that I was real familiar with. But when a company's in a position that they can spend billions of dollars to acquire somebody else, I always see that as a good sign. And I think Coreweave is going to go right back up to these highs. And I think the position that we have in Coreweave is going to do phenomenal. It literally flipped from being negative yesterday to being back to a positive trade today. So no need to make an adjustment there. CrowdStrike continues to struggle, so I will send out an adjustment to CrowdStrike. This applies to the triple play trade on CrowdStrike, as well as the triple play trade, as well as the SOS spread trade that we have on CrowdStrike. I will be sending out adjustments for those tonight. CrowdStrike is concerning me now. I don't think the move down is justified, but barring a turnaround and a big move to the upside by the close of the market today, which still could happen. CrowdStrike has been in positive territory. They opened up a little bit to the positive side, and they traded positive for the first few minutes of the market. Now they're negative, not by a whole lot, but if they have a move positive today, I'll hold off on an adjustment. If they do not, I will send out an adjustment, but I want to remind you that adjustment will be for you won't get that until early tomorrow morning at noon to 1 o'clock my time today. I'm jumping in my car, driving to California. I'll be on the road for 10 plus hours. I will not be able to make adjustments likely when I get in to San Francisco area tonight. It'll be early tomorrow morning, well before the market opens. I'll send out whatever adjustments I'm going to on CrowdStrike. NVIDIA looking absolutely phenomenal today, having another big move to the upside. That is causing AMD to also have a big move to the upside. If you are in the triple play AMD trade, boy, we went from being negative to being very positive this morning. And almost anything, if you got out of the trade right now where it's trading, you would be profitable. I've set my target at $4.95 because I don't think after today's move to the upside, it's likely that AMD comes back below 146. I think this move up today is likely going to keep them the rest of this week at or above $146 a share. And so at each passing day where the options get more and more towards being intrinsic value only, there's more and more of a chance that you get that close to that full $5 spread. So I've set my limit order at 495, and I think we'll be able within a day or two to chalk that up as another very profitable trade. Not much movement on TSM, and then like I said, I'll make an adjustment to the CrowdStrike trade. And then I've got to get, I've got the JP Morgan trade right here, but I've got to get the Johnson & Johnson one in here as well. JP Morgan, I'm going to tell you honestly, for the Triple Play members, I'm a little bit concerned with JP Morgan. They reported this morning. I thought the initial reaction would be bigger one direction or the other, but I don't think they'll sit on this flat line right here through the entirety of the week. I think before the week is over, they're either going to move up here far enough to where we need them or down here far enough. So I'm willing, I mean, it's only Tuesday. Our options expire on Friday. I'm willing to give them till the end of the week to see where they go. They're down $2.45 right now. They need to go down another $2.50 or $3 a share before the end of the week to where we would be guaranteed profitable on our trade. Right now, I've got to set my actual entry point, but right now we're off a little bit on this trade, and I really want to see them move down farther or up higher, and they're stuck in the middle right now, which is where we don't want them. So hopefully we get some more movement on J, and some of that movement will come in conjunction with what Goldman reports tomorrow. That these two companies have a tendency, not always, but have a tendency sometimes to move in concert with each other. So we'll see what happens there. Everything else looking great. I promised, and I will follow up on it. There will be some collar trade adjustments this week. Some of those will come tomorrow morning. Some will come on Thursday. One last thing before I end today. I may or may not do a podcast tomorrow morning. I'm going to be getting into San Francisco area around 10:30 or 11 o'clock tonight. I'm also going to be an hour earlier time zone than what I am normally in. I've got to wait and see what's going on tomorrow morning around the time the market opens before I'll know for sure whether I can do a podcast tomorrow morning or not. I would say for right now, plan on me not doing a podcast tomorrow morning, and then I may record something later in the day at the close of the market if that's what happens. But I will be back on a normal schedule for Thursday and Friday. So tomorrow's the only day that might be a little bit different. So keep that in mind, and I'm going to wrap up right there. Have a great rest of your day, everyone. Again, check tomorrow morning, check your emails tomorrow morning before the markets open for any possible adjustments on the trades we have open. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.